Welcome to today's coaching session. In this explainer, we're completely shifting gears. We're stepping away from that everyday financial anxiety that so many of us feel and jumping right into a strategic, highly actionable long-term plan. Think of me as your personal financial coach today. We aren't just going to glance at your money, we're going to look at exactly how the top 1% manage their wealth and how you can apply those exact same strategies right now, regardless of where you're starting from. We're building your ultimate wealth builder's playbook. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our exact game plan for today's playbook. First up, tackling debt by personality. Then, setting your target timeline. After that, we'll calculate your investment gap, talk about adjusting risk as you age, and finally, we'll lock in that long-term wealth mindset. I want you to just let this sink in for a second. Income buys your lifestyle, but net worth buys your freedom. It's incredibly easy to get caught up in just tracking what you earn. But your income, well, it's really just the fuel that buys your day-to-day lifestyle. Building actual net worth, meaning accumulating assets that actually grow over time, that's the ultimate goal of our session today. Because that, my friends, is what actually buys back your time, your options, and your absolute independence. All right, let's jump into our first play. Part 1, tackling debt by personality. It's time to handle that bad debt. So, which debt strategy actually fits your personality? Because look, not all debt is created equal, and honestly, not all payoff strategies work for everyone. You really have to ask yourself how your own psychology impacts your money. The truth is, the absolute best financial decision isn't always the one that's perfectly mathematically optimized. It's simply the one you can actually stick to without throwing in the towel. Let's look at two totally different approaches. First, we have the debt avalanche. This is where you rank your debts from the highest interest rate down to the lowest, and you attack that most expensive debt first. It's mathematically efficient, it saves you the most money, and this is totally perfect for the enterpriser personality type. Someone who is highly goal-oriented and loves crunching the numbers. But then we have the debt snowball. With this one, you literally ignore the interest rates entirely and pay off your debts from the smallest balance to the largest. Why on earth would you do that? Simple, for the quick emotional wins. You build unbelievable momentum seeing those little loans knocked out one by one. This is brilliant for the socialite personality, or really anyone who just thrives on visible progress. Listen, if the mathematically perfect avalanche method makes you want to quit, the snowball is absolutely your winning play. Moving right along to section 2, setting your target timeline. We need to start mapping out your money. And this brilliantly illustrates a core rule. The when of your goal entirely dictates the how of your money strategy. If your goal is, say, 1 to 5 years away, like an emergency fund or saving for a down payment, that's strictly short-term. The stock market is just way too unpredictable over a single year, so this money needs to stay safe and sound in cash or a high-yield account. Now, if your goal is 5 to 15 years out, that's medium-term. You have enough time to ride out the market's bumps, so you've got to start investing to beat inflation. But for anything 15 years and beyond, like retirement, time is totally on your side. Historically, over a 20-year stretch, the market virtually always delivers positive returns. For this long-term bucket, you want serious aggressive market growth. Which brings us to part 3, calculating your investment gap. Time to deal with some concrete realities. To do this properly, we need to talk about something called the investment gap. Simply put, this is just the difference between the ideal monthly amount you mathematically need to hit a goal and the realistic amount you can actually afford to invest right now. And hey, if you calculate this and find out you have a gap, don't panic. It's completely normal. Honestly, defining that gap is the absolutely crucial first step toward building a real working strategy. Let's look at your numbers using a real-world scenario. Let's imagine you want to save up a $50,000 house deposit in 10 years, assuming a pretty conservative 7% market return. If you punch that into a basic investment calculator, it'll tell you that your ideal monthly investment to hit that 50 grand is right around $500 a month. But say you've sat down, you've tracked your expenses, and you realize you realistically only have about $300 a month in surplus cash. Well, that leaves you with an investment gap of $200 a month. But here's the thing, discovering that $200 gap isn't a reason to get discouraged at all. It's actually empowering. It gives us the exact levers we need to pull to fix the situation. If you can't quite hit that $500 a month, how do we bridge the gap? Well, you could extend your target timeline, maybe aim to buy the house in 12 years instead of 10. You could try to optimize your portfolio for slightly higher returns, provided you keep the risk appropriate, of course. Or if you have some savings sitting around, you could inject a larger initial lump sum right up front to bring down that monthly burden. Or maybe you just plan to gradually increase your contributions over the next few years as your salary naturally grows. The point here is, you are now in total control of the variables. All right, let's keep this momentum going into part 4, adjusting risk as you age. This is all about wealth preservation. So, the crucial point here is figuring out exactly how to balance wealth accumulation, which is all about growth, with wealth preservation, which is all about protection. And I've got a fantastic, ridiculously simple formula to get you a solid baseline for balancing your portfolio. Step 1, take your current age and just round it up to the nearest 5. Step 2, subtract 10 from that number. And step 3, take that resulting number, and that is the exact percentage of your portfolio that should be safely tucked away in bonds, leaving the rest in growth-focused equities. Let's actually see this in action. Say you're 32 years old. You round up to 35. Subtract 10, and you get 25. So roughly 20 to 25% of your portfolio should be in stable bonds, leaving a massive 75 to 80% invested in equities. Why? Because a younger investor has literally decades to recover from any sudden market dips. They can absolutely afford a highly aggressive wealth accumulation strategy because time is totally on their side. Now, let's move forward and see how this builds for someone who's getting closer to retirement. If you're 58 years old, you round up to 60. Subtract 10, and you get 50. See the difference? Now your portfolio is split perfectly down the middle, 50% in stable bonds, 50% in equities. At this stage of the game, preserving your wealth and protecting that nest egg you've worked so incredibly hard to build, that becomes the main priority. You simply cannot afford a massive market drop right when you need the cash the most, so your portfolio has to actively reflect that reduced risk tolerance. And finally, we arrive at section 5, the long-term wealth mindset. This is how you guarantee your success. When you know your numbers, your dreams can become plans, and plans have a funny way of becoming reality. I absolutely love this because this is the exact transformational journey we've just mapped out together. We've moved away from just ignoring our bank accounts and sort of hoping for the best, straight into crystal clear clarity. By giving your vague financial dreams an exact price tag and a hard deadline, you've completely stacked the deck in your favor. The absolute core takeaway I want you to leave with today is that personal finance is, above all else, deeply personal. Your life is going to change. Your goals are definitely going to change. And because of that, your strategies must evolve as you do. A static, set it and forget it strategy is fundamentally a failing strategy. You have to be willing to crack open this playbook every single year, run your check-ins, and adjust your course as the road of life inevitably bends. So I'll leave you with this one final question. What is your very first play going to be today? Are you going to sit down, list out your debts, and pick the snowball or the avalanche method? Or maybe you're going to calculate your exact investment gap for that dream home. The entire playbook is laid out right here in front of you, but the execution, well, that's entirely in your hands. Pick just one play, take action on it today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.